Hey everybody, welcome back to another special episode. Kathy's here today and we are going to go over some interesting things, some comments and questions that we've gotten from you guys over the last maybe year. And before we went on the Pan American trip, now if you're new to the channel, you might not even know this, but we drove from the top of Alaska all the way to the tip of Argentina. It took us 2 years to do that. And in the process of planning for that trip and even during the trip, we made some modifications to the van to get it ready for this massive journey. We shared that with you guys in some previous videos. And now that we're back home, back here in the United States, we wanted to go back through some of these things and talk about what worked, what maybe didn't work or surprised us in how we used it, and maybe some new things that we want to do. So you're going to get a quick run through of our Winnebago Revel and all the things that we think about and how we use it. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think that's great. You know, over the last 2 years, we really dialed in our systems. We got everything fine-tuned, and now we want to share that information with you.
So let's do this. We're going to walk around the van, and anything that jumps out at me as interesting, I'm going to try to mention it to you. And if there's anything I touch on over the course of this video that you have a question about or a comment on, just leave it down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Maybe you have a great suggestion. Also, if you just have a question about how we use something or maybe we've overlooked something, ask down below and I'll try to get back to you guys on that. Because I know you guys, a lot of you are hardcore van people and you want to know about this stuff, and we're happy to share it with you. All right, so let's do this. We're going to do a little open house with our Winnebago Revel. It's a 2021. We're going to show you guys around. All right, guys, so let's start this off with the van itself. This is a 2019 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van. It's a 144-inch wheelbase. It is the 6-cylinder 3-liter engine, and it is a 4x4 drivetrain. This van has been great. This is the second one we've owned. We had another 4x4 Sprinter that was very similar to this, but about 4 years older before this one, and we've loved both of them. Let's just jump into it here. So the first things that come to mind is our Lightforce driving lights. These are Australian-made driving lights. They are incredibly tough, incredibly bright. They have these filters that snap on and off. I can have them clear, I can have them amber, yellow, or you can even black them out if you want. But Lightforce has been a brand that I've worked with for quite a while now, and they make really dependable lights. They've been great. And I've got them down here, and I have a light bar up top on the top of the roof rack. So that's the first thing you kind of see when you walk up. The next thing that something we did for the Pan American was this license plate holder, because we'll get to the winch here in a second, but the winch took away the place where the license plate would normally be mounted, and so we had to put this auxiliary or added license plate holder. Now, why do you need a license plate holder, really? Well, we're tagged in South Dakota, and South Dakota requires 2 license plates, but a lot of states don't. But if you are traveling internationally, you're going to Mexico, places like that, they're used to seeing 2 license plates on all the vehicles. Not having one on the front is a surefire way to get you pulled over. And if you want to travel internationally and just have low stress and not give the police any other reason to maybe pull you over and poke around in your van, make sure you have 2 license plates. Now, one thing you can do if you're from a state that only has 1 license plate is you can go on Amazon and you can print a license plate that looks almost like the real thing, and then as soon as you get across the border, say into Mexico, you put those license plates on, and they would have your same vehicle number on it. It's not like you're trying to fool anybody, but it's just a duplicate plate, and then you would use those there. And so we actually did that. Our whole trip from Mexico south, we ran Amazon license plates. People had warned us that people would try to steal our license plates and that we should keep our ones that have our stickers on them protected, and to do this Amazon trick. And honestly, once you get into Mexico, they don't know what your license plate is supposed to look like or anything like that. And nobody once questioned it, but our number on the license plate did match our number on our registration and all that. So when we went through border inspections and they wanted to check registration, it wasn't a problem. But having a front license plate is really important, especially on the Pan Am. Now let's see, what's here right next to the license plate is part of our winch bumper. Now, as you can see here, we've got a winch and we've got full strength recovery points. Now, these are bolted into the frame. If we needed to be pulled out of something really gnarly, we have 2 of these on either point here, and these are full strength. They are connected into the frame of the van, and we can pull on these like crazy. And then that goes in conjunction with our Warn 12S Xeon winch. This is a 12,000 pound Warn winch. It's got the synthetic cable. We've got the flat link lead here, and this has been a really wonderful system for us. A lot of people ask me, do you need a winch with a van? Well, Kathy and I debated this a lot, and she's like, oh, you just want a winch because it looks cool. And I was like, no, we might need it. And anyway, so we had that debate that I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. And after the first time we got stuck, or actually the first time we pulled someone else out who was stuck, and we were like, wow, this is really handy. And then we got down into Mexico and Costa Rica, and if you guys go to look at our video from Bolivia, you'll see we really got stuck there. And having a winch on a van maybe seems kind of silly to some people, but it is a big, heavy vehicle, and getting a little bit of extra pull to get you out of a sticky spot is really nice. And it gave us just the confidence in knowing that when we were going back into a really remote place, that we had one more trick in our toolkit, if you will, to possibly get us unstuck. And it just, if nothing else, it just gave us a little more confidence. But there were a handful of times it literally made the difference and kept us moving, and kept us from maybe having to go and get help from a tow truck or somebody else. So a winch is a great thing to have. This is called a flat link, and it's great. When it pulls out, it gives you a really nice rounded surface that you can run soft shackles through. And I love how it tucks in here and it kind of protects itself. The rope isn't exposed. It's just a really nice, clean system, I think. I like that a lot. And I guess the next thing's gonna be a little hard to see because it's underneath here. We have the Agile Off Road skid plates here. Now this is just a little bit of armor. You know, if you are pushing it in your van and you're going to some rougher places, this is gonna protect your engine. It's gonna protect some of your drivetrain. It's gonna protect a lot of things under there, transfer case and all that. And having good armor, once again, it's kind of like the winch. It gives you that little bit of peace of mind. Okay, let's keep moving around. Let's see here. Well, this is kind of a funny thing. I don't know if you know what this is. This is our antenna for our Midland radio. And I'm gonna show you that a little bit better when we get on the inside where you can actually see the radio. But this is an antenna, and this is kind of a work in progress. This just sticks on here with a magnet, and it just dunks down. And this has ridden all the way from, gosh, I think it was maybe in Bolivia or Chile where we started using this, and it's been fine. We get decent range out of it. I mean, we're talking many miles, like 10, 15 mile range in perfect situations. And the radio's been really great. I am gonna mount this on the roof. So probably the next video you see from us that we do like this, I'll show you how I'm gonna put this on the roof. I just haven't gotten to it yet. All right, and as we keep working around here, let's get to the tires. Now, on the Pan Am, we had BFG KO2s, and they were amazing. We had a set that was about halfway through its lifespan as we went up to Alaska, and then we knew when we came down from Alaska in the US, before we crossed any further south into Mexico and Central America, that we wanted a brand new set to take us for the long haul. And so we got a brand new set of KO2s, we got a spare included, everything was new. And I thought I was gonna have to replace those tires in Santiago or somewhere like that, and they lasted the whole trip. So we maybe, I'd have to do the math on it, but I'm guessing that was maybe 35,000 miles that we drove on that one set of tires. And yeah, that's not that much in terms of some tires, but for off-road tires and for tires that took a beating, I mean an absolute beating on the worst roads you could imagine, crossing continents, they held up great. And when we did get back from that trip, they were pretty shot. And so then I went ahead and I put on these BFG KO3s. And this is probably something a lot of you guys have asked about is, what do you guys think now? KO2s, KO3s. I'm thinking about getting a new set of tires. Which one do you like the best? Well, They're both great, I can say that, but I can say that the KO3s seem a little quieter on the road, they're a little less noisy, and they feel like they're just as good off-road. So I haven't yet had them in snow and ice, but I think they're gonna do great, and time will tell. But right now, if I was to buy another set of tires, I would probably go KO3s, no problem, no doubts. So they've been great, and they're wearing good. And we put them on the Method race wheels. These wheels have been with us almost from the beginning of this van, and they have been great wheels. I have no problem with them. I like how clean and simple they are. We have lost the center caps for the wheels. They, we lost a couple of these on rough roads in Peru. It's got the Agile spacer behind it. I kind of think it kind of looks cool like that. But when we were stuck in the Bolivian salt flats, we actually were jamming a log in here and making a lever arm and lifting the van off of this lip on the wheel. And I gotta say, from a recovery standpoint, it's really nice having something on your wheel like this that you can lever off of. We tried using soft shackles through the spokes of the wheel, and that kind of worked. But getting it right in there at the hub level and really being able to push on it worked really good. So I'm debating if I want to put new hubcaps on there, or center caps, or just leave it like this. And so far I've been running like this, and I don't know, I think it's a preference. But great wheels, no complaints with the Method race wheels. All right, now one of the most, and I mean at the top of my list of things if I was building out another van that I would do is the Agile Off Road rip kit, or a suspension modification to the Sprinter van. Sprinter van comes with a okay suspension, but it is really not well suited for it being such a heavy vehicle by the time we turn these into camper vans and we put our kayaks on the roof and do all the stuff that we do. And so let me show you here. The rip kit is basically a coilover and then an added strut in there, and this really makes a big difference. Now it's got additional suspension in the back as well, and between the two of these, it really makes the van stable, and it makes it drive kind of how I think it should drive. The Agile rip kit, that's been a huge thumbs up for us, and this particular one has now been all the way across the US multiple times and in some really rough situations. And it's also now been all the way up to Alaska, down to Argentina and back. Next time I'm in San Diego, I'm gonna get the guys to look it over, check the struts, see if they needed to be, have the gas and oil and stuff replaced in them, but they're still driving great. All right, so rip kit. Okay, we'll keep moving back here on the van. One thing is our side ladder. Now this has been a godsend for us getting our kayaks onto the roof. It's really important. It's something we use all the time. This wasn't a super deluxe ladder from the get-go. It was a prototype ladder that we were testing for another brand. And honestly, it served our needs pretty good. But as you can see now, it is chipping, the powder coating's coming off. It has had a hard life. And I think if I was to do this again, I would get an all welded ladder that was a little more sturdy and maybe had better quality powder coating. So yeah, if you guys know anybody with a good ladder, leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you guys like and don't like, but might be in the market for a ladder. Although this one it's worked. Let's see, we'll keep moving back here. So back here on the wheels, we are running these really awesome valve stems. And I know that's kind of a silly thing to get excited about valve stems, but these are a quick release, or I should say a rapid dump valve stem. You pull this little red lever and it will dump tens of pounds a second. It dumps really fast. In fact, when you first do this, you need to be careful not to let out too much air at once. But for airing down, this is a really nice thing. It has made it so much faster. So I like these a lot. Okay, and the one thing that I put on before the trip was Agile Off Road's double shear bracket. This bracket goes onto the strut back here on the back end, and it basically gives it a lot more security. It is mounted a lot more aggressively and securely. And we did once have a shock bolt come out, I think from just being on too rough of roads. It popped loose, the shock was just dangling, and this double shear bracket solves that problem. And out of all the terrible roads we drove on, we didn't have a single problem with any of that stuff. We also are running the heavy duty leaf spring pack back here. and that's been really great. It gives us a little more cushion in the back, and sometimes we do tow with this van, and it makes towing a lot nicer too. All right, so looking at the back of the van, full-size spare tire. We run the 275 7017s. This tire will fit underneath with a little bit of modification to the basket that the tire goes in. We always wanted to run an auxiliary fuel tank, which I'll tell you here in a second, and that takes up the place of where the spare tire lives in a stock form from Mercedes. And so we mounted the tire here on the back of the van. We're using the Agile Off Road tire mount, rear door tire mount, I think is what they call it. It's been solid, just like all the Agile gear. It's been really good, and it is a lot of confidence having a full strength, full-sized spare tire on the back. It's set up with the rapid dump valve stems. It's like ready to go. I can just put it on and it's as good as new. Beside it here is something I've really loved, and it's this Owl Vans. This is their B2 rack is what goes on the door. And then on the B2 rack, we've got the Expedition box. This is just a big storage box and allows me to keep stuff like camp chairs. Well, here, I'll open it. It's a little messy. Oh, whoops. See what I mean? Keeps our bike helmets. I've got my air down kit, hoses, electrical cords. I've got my big ground mat, just all this kind of stuff that I didn't quite know where I wanted to put it. And it got kind of weird inside of the van, or it might be dirty like these ground mats. So it's really nice just having a safe, secure, watertight place where you can put this kind of stuff. And this has been a really, really useful extra little storage space. On top of that, on the B2 rack, we've got these arms, and it allows us to carry 2 mountain bikes if we want. These are the OneUp bike trays. I got this whole side of this. All this comes from Owl Off Road or Owl Vans, and this has worked really good. We did get our bicycles stolen in California, so now we're down to 1 bike, but hopefully someday we'll have 2 again. And then behind it here, and this is a little harder to see, there is a DMOS shovel. This is the Delta Pro. They make a Delta and a Delta Pro. The difference is the blade here. This is the aluminum blade, and it is far lighter than the Delta. And I really enjoy this shovel. It folds up small. It is incredibly expensive. It's a lot for a shovel, I'll admit that. But I love how it stows away here. It's always at the ready, and it's a pretty compact, small form, but it folds out into a full-length, full-size shovel, and it's super sturdy and super strong. So this is where we keep our main shovel for recoveries or putting out campfires or whatever it might be that we need a shovel for. And then if we keep going down, we have the Agile Off Road rear skid plate. They have a better name for it than that. That is not the official name. But we put this on right before we left the USA and went into Mexico going south. And when we were stuck in the Salar de Uyuni and the Bolivian salt flats, I think this skid plate is what kept our van from sinking deeper. It kind of worked like flotation, and it had such a nice wide surface area that our van was just sitting on it. And it was really good, because some of the other vehicles that were stuck were really going deeper and deeper. And ours seemed to kind of settle in, and I think it was because of this skid plate. We have drug it off of a few ledges in Baja and other places, and it's just really nice knowing that when you do drop down off of something and you make contact, that it's on something smooth and it can just slide off, and it's not catching like your tow hitch or something like that that's gonna maybe catch on a rock and make it harder to get off of. So this skid plate's been great, and it also makes a nice step. If you need to, so a lot of times I'll go up and I'll clean the camera, that's the backup camera, and it just gives me a nice step to get up there and wipe it off. And a lot of people who use their vans a little different than I do, where they're climbing in and out of their back doors, and it's really nice for them. Okay, let's take you into the back of the van, because there's some really fun stuff there as well. So what I like about the box too is it's easy still to get to the door handle, so no problem at blocking the door in any way. These guys at Owl figured that out. Okay, so as you can see here, and this is all really dusty. I've just been on some really dusty off-road sections, and the weather stripping back here from Mercedes does leave a little to be desired, and some dust does come in, but maybe that's true with almost all vehicles and SUVs and whatnot. But this does get a little dusty, but I have built a custom-made drawer system here. And this is the kind of the key to the back of the van and being organized for me, because, you know, a lot of people just put a bunch of stuff back here and then you drive and it all gets mixed up and rattles around, or you hit the brakes and it all goes sliding forward, and that could be very dangerous. I wanted a way to secure the heavy things and have somewhere to put things. So these drawers slide out, and as you can see, these are Baltic birch plywood. I made these myself, and then they're made in a way where they maximize the space. I've got tried to take every inch of space and make it usable, but it's Baltic birch, and then I had it coated in Line-X. And the Line-X is very durable. It's basically the same stuff they use for pickup truck beds, and it's a lot of times I'm putting kayak gear back here that's wet, and I don't worry about it harming the wood at all because it's coated in Line-X, which is basically like super heavy duty plastic. So this stuff has held up really well. It's been really solid. I also think the Line-X helps hold the drawers together. You know, all this is glued and screwed together, but the Line-X on top of it is like, and makes it solid. So these drawers are great. A lot of people comment on my handles. They think, wow, you got these really nice drawers, but you've got these funny ropes. Well, there's a story behind these ropes. I have built these drawers in 4 or 5 different vehicles over the years, and this goes all the way back to right out of college in my very first Tacoma pickup. I had a drawer system in it. It wasn't near as nice as this, but it did have these same chunks of rope. And this rope has been with me through so many adventures. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles I've driven with these ropes as my drawers. And it's kind of special. So when I went to build this again, I pulled this off the previous drawer as a keepsake, and I made sure to use it again on these drawers, and I'll probably do it again on my next ones. So that's the story with the rope. Let's see. So the drawers, they slide in and out. They've really worked great. I think the one thing I'll do on my next set of drawers is a lock, because if you go back and you watch our Costa Rica video, you'll see we get stuck on a really steep hill. We couldn't go up over a little ledge that we ended up having to winch over, but I needed to get out and get to some of my recovery gear that I keep here in the door. And the van was at such an angle, when I opened the doors, my drawers wanted to slide out. And so I was doing this weird little dance of holding the drawers in and trying to get to my gear and then get it all back in and shut the door to be able to then get up and do the recovery itself. So I think next time I'm going to figure out some sort of a little locking system on them, but that's probably the only thing I would change for the 5th or 6th generation of these drawers. They've been great. Sorry, they're a little dirty. I need to mop them off. But as you can see, we keep tons of stuff in the drawers. This has a lot of tools and backpacks and camping gear, and my torque wrench and all kinds of things are in this drawer. And this drawer is made a little bigger than that drawer. And you might look funny. You might think that looks funny if you first see that, but there's a very good reason. And the reason is the doors aren't the same opening size. And I wanted to be able to open this drawer without opening the other side of the door. So it gives me the ability to do that really cleanly and get in here. This is the drawer I access the most, and that's why I don't have to open both doors, especially if we're on the side of the road or somewhere. It just makes it a little cleaner. So what else can I tell you about the drawers? I think we covered the drawers. So we've got all of our little small and heavy things live in the drawers. Down low, low center of gravity. And then up top, we put backpacks and duffel bags, and I've got my tripods over here, and it all fits here. And this is kind of the smaller, lighter, fluffier, softer things, and they're contained in big duffel bags. And this has worked really good, because if we need to go kayaking, we can pull a bag out, we can get our stuff out, put it right back in, and we're set. So I kind of like this. I don't know, maybe in the future I might do another drawer, maybe have 4 drawers, but this has worked really good for here. Okay, now the next thing you're seeing, or maybe you're not seeing, is our beds. Our beds are right behind here. If I unzip this, here's the bed. But what we've got here is a roll of screen. This is a bug screen, but it also, honestly, we rarely unzip this little blackout blind that's in it. And so this acts like a wall. And The number one reason I have it set up this way, it comes down to the same height as the bed, the bottom of the bed, is so if I open these doors and it's raining, this catches the rain. This is a waterproof material, and the rain will splash off of this. It might drip down here. It might get a little bit on my drawers or a little bit on this bag that's on the very outside, but it doesn't go in our bed. And that's the problem with having doors like this versus a door that opens more like a SUV style, once you open this in inclement weather, you're exposed to snow, rain, whatever. And so this has been a really nice thing. The other thing is it is another thermal barrier. It keeps the hot sun that beats on the back doors, and you feel that heat come through, and it's just another layer to keep it cool in the back and dark. We are running these Canyon Adventure Vans window covers. These just magnet in, and they do have insulation built into them, and they're black and they're heavy duty material. And these have been wonderful too, of just keeping the sun out of the back window and out of coming in, and it's just another layer to keep it cool in the van. We don't at all worry about seeing out the back of our van. Our trucks were set up a similar way. I don't think I've seen out my rearview mirror in one of my vehicles for maybe 20 years. So it doesn't bother us one bit. Jorge did on our Pan Am trip. He didn't like that. He wanted to be able to see out his back doors. So every morning he would kind of do his thing up and be able to see out his rearview mirror. But Kathy and I, we've done this so long, and driving RVs and other things, it's been fine. Another thing that we did on the Roll-Lift is it's got these zippers, and the zippers, when they're all the way at the top, you can't reach them. But I can zip this up and get it almost to the top. If I stand here on the Agile step, I can go all the way to the top. But having that little bit of string and rope on there, I can now reach it when it's at this top position and pull it down to wherever I want it. And that just makes it quick and easy. So that's just a little tiny mod, but that's worked great. Roll-off screens have been great. The zippers, we had a little zipper trouble in South America, and I used a zipper wax. That's a zipper lubricant, and that really helps keep your zippers happy. I found that, let's see, where did I get it? I got it on Amazon, but a lot of outdoor stores will have it for tents and things like that. And if your zippers are getting sticky, try that zipper lube. I'll put a link to that in the description down below so you guys know where to find the zipper lube, but works great. Let's move over here. This is something called a Dorganizer. It's a funny name for a really awesome thing. This is made by Canyon Adventure Vans, and it basically Velcros onto the back door. There is a little hatch here, kind of like there is over here with the straps. There's a similar pocket on both sides, and so this goes over the top of this. In the pocket that's hidden back behind this, I keep jumper cables and some things that I don't need very often, but I still want to have reasonable ability to get to them quickly. But I keep them back there, and I can just peel the Velcro back, pull out my jumper cables, and I've got those tucked away. But in here is a lot of my recovery gear, my Maxtrax soft shackles, my recovery donut, things like that. I keep them in these little pockets, and it's been wonderful. It just puts them at my fingertips, but they're also tucked in and out of the way. My shower head, as I'll show you guys here in a minute, we never use the shower inside of the van, but I will take showers outside of the van. And so this plugs in right back here, and I can just stand back here and take a shower almost anywhere. I've done it on 3 continents now. So, but little things like our duct tape and our little brush to sweep things out, little broom, and just clothespins and things. It's just been a great place to keep those kind of random knickknacks and things that you need to get to fairly regularly, but you just don't know where to put them. And I didn't really want them buried away in the drawers. Okay, so there's the back. Another cool thing on the back of the van that's kind of a hidden thing. Now you got to promise not to tell anybody. This is a hitch lock. So this little cap comes off, and underneath here is a little padlock that turns my 2-inch receiver hitch into a little miniature safe. This is a great place to keep spare keys or anything else that you need. And when you put the cap back on it, it just kind of looks like a hitch with a cover on it, and makes a nice, safe, secure place to store it. Oh, and by the way, this isn't the combination that you're seeing. So right here is the Agile Off Road rear diff cover. Sorry it's so dirty. And you can see right here is our auxiliary fuel tank. So That diff cover replaces the Mercedes diff cover, and it is a super robust diff cover. It is cast iron, and you can actually jack the whole van up off of that diff cover. If you try to do that with the standard stock Mercedes diff cover, it bends the lip, and inevitably you'll end up leaking diff oil and then having a big problem down the road. So we upgraded to the Agile Off Road one, and it has been a no-brainer. It works so good, and I have zero worries about it when I go to somewhere and they try to jack my van up off the diff. One thing about the back that's not exactly on the inside, but you can see on the bumper here, I've got some Baja Designs, small little lights that these go on when I put it in reverse, and I have my perimeter lights on. And I also have Lightforce lights up here at the top, and I've got them going along the side of the van as well. So there is 6 lights around the perimeter of the van, and in conjunction with this light down at the step, and I can flip those on in 2 different zones. So I have one switch that turns them all on in the back, and then I have another switch that turns them all on the side. This has been wonderful. When you're backing up somewhere and there's a lot of rocks or trees or cars or kids or whatever it might be, having good light in a van that's this big and you can't see out of the back has been really nice for making that just so much safer and so much more less stress. And then we flip on all of them together, so it's the sides and the back. And when we come in from an adventure and it's after dark and we're either setting up a camp or putting gear away, getting ready to go somewhere else, it's just really nice to flip those on and we have daylight around the whole van. And here's a story. If you saw our video from Kodiak Island, we literally had a Kodiak brown bear attacking the back of our van. Now, these are the largest land predators in the world. And we have one of them going to town on the back of our van, trying to get in a bag that probably smelled like something. We didn't have anything in there. It was totally empty, and we thought it was gonna be okay, but it liked the way it smelled. It ended up ripping the bag off the back of the van. But once we got over the shock of like, what is going on, I flipped on all these lights, and the bear kind of like looked up at us. We were looking through the glass right here through the window, and it had this dazed look, kind of like, oh my gosh, like you're shining a flashlight right in my eyes kind of look. And it blinked and sat there for a second, and then it just walked off into the darkness, and we never saw the bear again that night. So perimeter lights are good for a lot of things. I'm a big fan of them, and that's something I'll definitely be adding on any vehicle in the future. Okay, so I think we've covered the back of the van here. I'll show you the bed and all that stuff when we get to the inside. So let's shut this up and we'll keep on moving around. All right, let's keep going around the van here. Probably the first thing you're gonna notice is this cool little flip out table. This is a standard Winnebago feature. This is great. This is such a simple little thing. It flips down, it's on a cord. You can adjust it here using the L-track for if your van's on a tilt. Honestly, most of the time, I don't ever have to mess with that. But the table is just hinged, it flips up, there's little snaps that keep it in place, and now the door will open and close, and you don't even know it's there. But it is a great workspace when you want to cook outside or do whatever. You just need a little more counter space. This has been really good. Now, if we look down here at the ground, we have the Inhabit Design Works mat. This is their outdoor mat, or their door mat, as I like to call it. This is a really, really burly nylon type material, and it's got grommets in the corners, so you can stake this out if it's windy, so your mat doesn't blow away. And the back side of it here is kind of a foamy type of material. It takes the bite off of sharp rocks or gravel. If you're standing out here and you're barefoot, you can be on really sharp rocks, and it definitely takes the bite off your feet and makes it comfortable. It also, I use this thing a lot, just like you see it here, as an entrance into our van to keep from tracking gravel and grass and pine needles or whatever. You know, it's just a great little staging spot. But also, all the videos that you guys will see when I'm working on the van, I'm typically got this thrown under the van and I'm crawling in and out of the van on this mat. And it has proved invaluable in that way. I'm not rolling around the dirt. I'm not getting all grimy any more than I am working on the van, but it's just made a wonderful little work surface to do so many things. And this material is the exact same design and pattern as what's on the inside here. These mats are custom laser cut, and they fit exactly in the Revel. They fit all the little nooks and crannies, and it's almost like wall-to-wall carpet for your van. And that might seem a little excessive to most people, but what you're gonna discover in your van is you are gonna someday get in here with muddy feet or something, and you're gonna make a mess. And what's so nice, being able to pull these mats out at the car wash, spray them off, they dry really fast, you put them back in, and you've got brand new clean surfaces. It's really great. So we've really enjoyed these. Also with a little bit of foam backing, they eliminate some of the noise that you get from being in a van. It makes it a little quieter, and it also makes it a little warmer. When you get up in the mornings and it's a cold morning and you put your feet down, it's a lot warmer on these mats than it would be just on the stock floor. Okay, now just on the front door, there's a couple things I want to show you. The first thing is really invisible. It's hard to show you at all, but when we went to South America, we heard people talking about their windows getting broken and people smashing the window and getting into their van, stealing stuff and all that. And of course, made us a little nervous. And so then somebody else said, you can get this window film that you put on your window, and if they smash it, at least it'll hold all the glass together, and it kind of makes it a little more of a spider web, and it takes them a little longer to get in. Not that it's gonna keep them out, but it's just gonna make it a little more of a challenge. So we ordered this stuff off Amazon. We put it on. It goes on like window tint film. It covers the whole front glass. We did it on the sides too. And lo and behold, nobody smashed our window. I can't say we were disappointed, because we definitely didn't want our window to be smashed. But it was just another one of those little things that we didn't know going south if we would need it or not. And maybe it was a little bit of just made us feel better. But we have that on there, and you can't even tell, but I think we're gonna continue to leave it on just for the same reasons. Another thing we did for security is, if you look at my keys here, I have two fobs, okay? I have the normal Mercedes fob, and I have a secondary fob. Well, you might ask, well, I'm sure you all know what the Mercedes fob does. It locks and unlocks the doors, it starts the vehicle, all that stuff. The second fob is a secondary set of locks that we put on the van. Now this is called Thunderbolt Deadbolt locks. They make these for work vans, for people who are like construction, contractors, electricians. People have a lot of expensive tools in the backs of their vans. And I think in some cities, they're getting targeted and people are breaking into these vans trying to steal the tools. And they made this really cool deadbolt locking system. And so it all runs off of this remote. And when I open the door here, I can show you, this here is the deadbolt. If you watch, as I push the button, it fires the deadbolt, comes out, and that mates in this hole that is the receptacle on the door frame. And so that pin goes through there, and if you don't have this remote, even if you break our glass and you pull up and you unlock the door the normal ways, you do all those things, you still will not be able to open this door. And that probably gave us the biggest peace of mind when we'd leave our van at different trailheads or in cities, places where we were just a little uncomfortable leaving it. Being able to have this thing locked and know that if they broke our glass, they couldn't just open the door. If they really wanted to rummage through our van, they're gonna have to climb through the window and go around. And then even if they're on the inside, all the doors are still locked shut. So it just makes it a little bit of a hassle. And it also locks the back doors the same way. And that was really nice. This has been a really good system by Thunderbolt Deadbolt locks, and we're gonna keep using this for sure. But super simple, super easy, and gives a lot of security. Now it is on all 4 doors, and when we shipped the vehicle home from Argentina, we locked all the doors but the driver's door, because we had to have the driver who's putting our van on and off the ship, shipping it back from Argentina to Florida. He obviously had to be able to get in there to move the van around the port, but we still felt better knowing that the back was locked up, the side doors were locked up, and we went ahead and built a bulkhead that blocked off the very back of the van, and it essentially made a little safe room back there where we could put all the stuff that we didn't fly with. Now we flew back with our cameras and computers and the really expensive stuff, but other things that, you know, we didn't want people messing with, we could lock it in the back and know that it was pretty safe. Now, nothing is totally safe, but it is going to take a lot more effort, and hopefully they're going to move on to someone else instead of putting all that effort into our van. So, Thunderbolt Deadbolts, that's been a really good addition. Okay, let's open this back up. One thing back on the floor mat is we really like these WeatherTech mats. They're made for Mercedes Sprinter vans. These are a plastic mat. Now we do have the Inhabit mats that go under here, but I just really love how these catch water and mud and gravel, and it keeps it in place in the van. It makes it easy for us to pull this whole mat out, pull it out and dump out all the gravel and rocks and whatever debris. And we can hose these off at the gas station. But these have been really nice in the front. So I'm kind of running a two-system mat. WeatherTech's in the front, Inhabit DesignWorks in the back. And in the middle here by the seats, they overlap. And so the Inhabits go underneath the WeatherTech, and it makes for a really clean system, I think. Okay, so now we got the door open. Let me just show you one thing that is right up there with the RIP kit as far as I think must-haves. Here, you guys come this way. I'm going to come in the back. These right here are Scheel-Mann seats. You might be like, what is a Scheel-Mann seat? Well, this is a German orthopedic driving seat. These are put in really high-end sports cars all the way to people like us who are driving adventure vans for long periods of time, and we want the maximum comfort and support. Now, the Mercedes seats in our first Sprinter van were absolutely awful. I'll be the first to say that. We could not drive very far without feeling like we were crippled. Our second Mercedes van, the VS30, our 2019 van, this van came with better seats, but they still weren't great. And we were at a trade show, at a van show, and we sat in these Scheel-Mann seats, and Kathy and I are both like, oh my gosh, we have to have a set of these seats. So it took us a little while because they're very expensive, but they are so worth every penny because this is a 10-way adjustable driving seat. It has 2 armrests. The Mercedes seat only has 1 armrest here, and then you're supposed to put your arm over here. Well, my forearm isn't long enough to put it anywhere without me leaning over weird and having a kind of a crooked handle on the steering wheel. But with this second armrest, they're perfectly level. I can have my arms perfectly supported, my hands perfectly at the 10 and 2 position, and I can drive a long way and have my upper body and arms supported and not have any pain or discomfort. These have been a game changer, and I don't use that word lightly. They also have a heating element in them, so you get heated seats, which we didn't have that before. The newer vans do have that in the stock seats. But just having 2 equal armrests has been amazing. And not to mention, they're super comfortable. Another thing I really like about these seats is when I'm working, I can fold them forward. And I can then, if I'm not sitting here and I'm sitting back here at the desk, I can then flip this forward just like this, and it just opens up the whole area. I've got then room for my table to come out, and I can get a lot of work done here. Now, I think it's going to be a second video or a later video. I'm going to show you how I do my computer setup, my office. There is an older one of those, and things haven't changed a lot in that regard. That's why I haven't made a newer update video yet. But I'll put a link to that down below as well, to the workspace video. And this is sitting right here is where I do all my work. I have a 27-inch screen that comes out, and it goes on this this screen holder. It's worked great. It's been awesome for me getting work done back here. Okay, now another thing we added in South America, especially traveling with our amigo Jorge, was we were always using little walkie-talkie radios to communicate. And a lot of times you're driving in a convoy and you're not that far apart, that's not a problem. The only thing that we were struggling with was charging them every night. Occasionally we'd forget to charge them, and then you start the day with a battery that's either empty or almost empty, and it was just kind of a pain. So about 3/4 of the way through the trip, we started dreaming of having a real installed radio. All right, so this is a Midland radio, MXT 575. This is a 50, let's see here. This is a 50 watt GMRS radio. These have been amazing, and being able to just flip it on like this and off and not worry about charging batteries or any of that has been just really convenient. And also these have incredible range, incredible power, incredible clarity, and they were great. on the second half of our trip is all we had them for, but they made a big difference. So on this radio, all the controls are on the handset. There is mounted up here, up top is the body of the radio, or the brains of it, and then this runs down and you control everything from this. And I like it a lot because I can tuck the body of the radio out of the way. I can even unplug this whole thing and have it out of sight if I don't want someone to know that I have a radio, or I'm worried about somebody stealing it, parking somewhere. But most of the time I leave it plugged in and I just hook it behind my mirror, and it rides right there with Miguel, and that's our parrot there, and it's great. It's at a finger's reach whenever I need it, and it's been a wonderful addition to our van. So there are times when I might be outside of the van and I want to communicate with Kathy or Jorge or whoever we're traveling with, or maybe we have a third person traveling with us who doesn't have a radio. We like to carry these little small ones. Now this is a GXT 67 Pro. This is a 5-watt radio that is very powerful for a handheld. We're getting amazing results with this, and these are great. You just jump out, they're waterproof. I've even gone kayaking with one of these in my life jacket and gone down the river and talked to Kathy in the van, and it's just a wonderful way to communicate. All of these radios can work off of a repeater. They also pick up weather band frequencies. They're just super dialed in and super nice to have. I put a little bit of cord on mine. I kind of don't like the pocket clip as much, and I typically will wear my radio around my neck. Then as I'm photographing or something, it's always right there. I can just grab it. It's not like tucked on a belt or something. And this works really good for me, but it does come with a belt clip as well if you want to use it that way. Now, another way we communicate, and we probably use this more than anything, is our Starlink. I have the router mounted right here behind between this cabinet and the shelf. And if you're not familiar with Starlink, Starlink is a satellite internet service. So there's a bunch of satellites up in space. They communicate with this dish that's mounted on a roof, and they basically beam the signal back and forth, and we can have internet anywhere in the world while we're in motion, while we're parked. The only place that it's bad is if we don't have a clear view of the sky from trees or buildings or a canyon. That's where it struggles. But wow, Starlink as a YouTube creator has allowed me to then be able to upload my videos from the wildest places and not have to go back into cities and try to find internet. It's been a wonderful addition to our office and communications. All right, let's move back up into the front of the van. I got a few more things I wanted to just show you. Let's see here. One of the big things that we're always trying to figure out a better way to do it is how to mount our phones on the dash. Now, we are often using our phones for communicating, for emails, text messages, phone calls, all that kind of stuff. But we're also frequently using it to navigate, figure out where we're going, especially in a foreign country. And then we're also using them to find campsites every night with the Overlander app. So there's a million things, as you guys all know. I'm preaching to the choir here about the usefulness of a smartphone. But we struggled with a bunch of different phone mounts, and on dirt roads, and especially the rougher dirt roads, they would always wobble and bounce off the dash and fall on the floor. It seems like the worst possible moments. So we did a lot of trial and error, and we did a lot of discovery, and we found really there's a lot of bad phone mounts out there. And then we found a company called QuadLock. QuadLock is a case that goes on your phone, and it has this funny little pattern, but this pattern will then mate in with the QuadLock mount. So my phone goes in here, and it goes a little diagonal, and then I lock it in, and it is locked on. Like it might wiggle around a little bit, but it is not gonna fall off. And on top of that, it does charging through the phone. There's a power cord here that comes in out of the van. And so anytime we have our phones just sitting on the dash like this, they are charging and they're at our fingertips for whatever we need to use them for, and they're not falling on the floor every 2 minutes. So we have one here for Kathy, I have one here for me driving, and it's been a really good combo of the two. So let's talk about a few more things here in the cockpit. Down here I have some of the buttons and all. This is the 4-wheel drive system. This is the low range, and this is Mercedes. This is how the Sprinter vans come. Right next to it though, I have my onboard air. This is an air compressor that is mounted under the hood, And I flip this on and I have 2 air outlets on either end of the van where I can then use to air up tires or do anything I need with air. So it's compressed air. That's great. Then this is my light bar that goes on the top. Then I have my side lights and my rear lights. These are the perimeter lights. Those are great. Right here I have a pedal box. This is basically allows you to remap the response of your accelerator. This has been kind of handy with the diesels. It gives you a little more power, a little more boost, and it's really nice, especially if you're needing to pass somebody and you just want to have maximum power. I can put this on the red mode and it really goes, the van goes. It's great. Then right next to it, I have a Red Arc brake controller. This allows me to control trailer brakes if I'm towing. That's something we used to use a lot. We haven't been towing so much lately, but it's a nice addition. On top of that, I have a phone cord that comes out, and it's not necessarily for charging because my quad lock does the charging, but it allows me to connect to my phone and use it with CarPlay with the in-dash Mercedes-Benz system, which works really good. That's been a good improvement over the last system. As we move over here, let's see if it'll power up. Nope, I don't have the power on right now. Oh, there it goes. I have a Garmin Overlander. Now I've used Garmin GPSs for maybe 20 years. I've had Garmin's. This is getting to be an older model, but I find it to be really durable, really rugged, and it gives me some key information at my fingertips here. I can have a topographical map here. I can have Google Maps going here. I kind of like having different things in different places, so I'm not on my phone scrolling back and forth between different apps. It's just nice having it all set up and ready to go. Sometimes in foreign countries, if I'm not sure about the speedometer being converted from miles to kilometers, I will a lot of times just use the speedometer built into the GPS to know how fast I'm going. Also, like in Peru and places at high elevations, it's just really nice having an altimeter at your fingertips just to see how high we are. I've really enjoyed that as well. But the Garmin products are really great. This will interface with a Garmin inReach, which is another type of satellite communicator that allows us to send text messages remotely or without any service. And we have one of those as well for when we're outside of the van, and it'll link up with this if we want it to. But the Garmin stuff has been great, although it's probably about time for an upgrade on this one because they do have some newer, nicer units with, I think they're mostly just better displays. They look nicer. But this is permanently wired in to the van. It's on this mount here. This mount is by a company called Pro Clips. Their label is right there. And I custom built this bracket. This is a piece of aluminum that I bent and fabricated to hold the inReach right there at the perfect viewing distance for me while I'm driving. It's out of the way. The A-pillar is the only thing that it's blocked by, and that's fine. I've got full field of view, and it's easy to divert my eyes to this and see what I need to see. So this is kind of cool. A lot of people ask about this in the video. They're like, what's that thing over there on the side of your A-pillar? And that's what it is. I've got one more thing I want to show you, but you probably should jump out, and we're going to show it to you from the other side here. Okay. Looky here. This is tucked away. This is an Agile Off Road auxiliary fuel tank. Now this is mounted where our spare tire would be in the stock location in the very back of the van. Agile puts in a 28-gallon auxiliary fuel tank. This is the gauge that tells me how much fuel is in the tank. And then these are the buttons that allow it to turn on, and I can either pump fuel backwards or forwards. So if I'm filling up, I'll pump it to the back. If I'm driving down the road and I'm running out on my primary tank, I'll flip it to pumping forward. It'll refill my primary tank, and it's actually got 4 gallons more fuel than my front tank. So it gives us about a 450-mile range, maybe 500 if the terrain's right, and it has been a wonderful thing. So this gave us a lot of peace of mind in South America. And even when you're going into California and you're leaving Nevada with cheap fuel prices, I always fill up in Nevada, try to drive around in California and maybe get out without having to buy fuel there to save some money. So this is a really neat thing to have. And there's a lot of ways to do auxiliary fuel tanks. There's now a 40-gallon that replaces your main tank. That's what Jorge has in his van, and that worked well. But I don't know, you could even double these up with a 40 and then the 28 in the back and have a massive amount of range. But this is what we've done, and it's been great. And I can easily reach down here and flip these while I'm driving and either and bring fuel forward from the back. Okay, and then in the door pocket here, I've got a couple of things. In this padded case that I found, I've got my worn winch controller, and here's the charging cable, and that lives in this cool little padded bag. And then over here is my older ARB air down tool. This allows you to air down really fast, but not as fast as the Apex valve stems. I still carry this. Sometimes, you know, you might need to remove a valve stem, and this is a really easy way to do it. But also, if I'm with some friends and they don't have the ability to air down, I can loan them this, and we can all be airing down pretty quickly. So that stays here. I always keep a pair of gloves. Gloves in South America were great. There were so many times I would just throw these on to do something weird, where it was just either a dirty gas pump or something like that. And then when we got stuck in the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, these really helped protect my hands from that salty mud and muck that was actually corrosive. So that was nice. And then in the door over here, I keep a set of Vortex binoculars. I love being able to look at things. I'm driving around the mountains and I always want to look up at a cliff or a peak or a river or whatever it is, and having really nice binoculars at your fingertips is wonderful. And having them right here in the pocket of the door allows me to always have them whenever I need them. So they just tuck in this little bag and they're tucked away nice and safe. All right, last thing over here. We're getting deep in the weeds now. This is my clean canteen. As you can see, it's got some cool stickers. Here's our buddy Overlanders that we ran into in South America. Check out their YouTube channel. They do great stuff, but it's just nice having a water bottle. I try not to use single plastic water bottles, and having one of these that in the States, I'll take this into a gas station. In the summer, I'll put ice, I'll fill it up with water, and I'm good till the next gas stop. So that's really handy. I like having a little handle on it too, so I can clip it into things. But it lives right there. It has for years. And there's my door. All right, I'm gonna take you guys up on the roof. All right, okay, we're going up the ladder here. I am on the roof, and what I have here is my first set of Maxtrax. I carry two Maxtrax Extremes. They're right here at the top of the ladder, so they're easy for me to access. And right here next to the Maxtrax, I have my Starlink mounted. Now it is in plain view of the sky, and it is in a special mount called a star mount. This is a billet aluminum mount. It's a really bomber mount, and this holds my version 2 Starlink in a nice spot, and it is held on with 300-pound magnets. And I have 75 feet of cable for my Starlink here. So if I'm parked under the trees and I want to be parked under the trees, I can then pop the magnets off the roof, move my Starlink up to 75 feet away, and get it out from under the trees where I'll get a better signal. And it's been really nice having it mounted that way and given that flexibility. Now, I really honestly only move it maybe 2-3 times a year. I'll pull it off and put it somewhere. Most of the time I just try to park in places where I don't have to move it, but it's nice having that flexibility. And then on the very front of our roof rack right here is our Lightforce 40-inch LED, dual LED light bar. This bar lights it up bright as day, and it is such a pleasure driving at night off-road with this light bar on. It is wonderful. As you can see here, these are my kayaks. This is a Jackson Kayak Antics. On the other side is a Nirvana. I usually carry at least 3 kayaks up here. I've got a special system that probably needs to be its own video, but it's the way I tie all this stuff down. It works really good. And then between the crossbars of the kayak, I have a standing platform. This thing right here. And this is an aluminum standing platform that once again was kind of a prototype piece. These never really went into production, but I was lucky enough to end up with one of them, and I use this thing every day to load and unload my kayaks. And then as we keep looking back, there's another 4 set of Maxtrax Mark IIs. These are a little bit lighter duty than the Extremes, and they have the plastic teeth instead of the metal teeth, but they're very, very handy to have. And I like traveling with at least 4, if not 8 Maxtrax. Right now I've got 6 on board, and I feel like that's pretty good for what I'm doing right now. But when we were stuck on the Salar de Uyuni, I could have used 20 Maxtrax. And then this is kind of hard for you guys to see, but underneath the Maxtrax here, you can see these straps that are run through the Maxtrax. Underneath there is a Deadman anchor, which is by Deadman Off Road, and they make this anchor that will allow me to winch off of sand or soft soil. You could even wrap it around a boulder or something like that, but it lives in its own little bag underneath those Maxtrax. And then there's this funny looking box here. This is our air conditioner unit. This kind of has more to do with the inside than the outside, but it lives up here. And this is our roof rack in a nutshell. And this has served our really specific needs with our kayaks and carrying things on the roof, and it's been wonderful. Also, for my kayaks, I have an extended crossbar kit. This comes from Black River, which is the company that makes the roof rack for Winnebago, and they sell this kit that if you guys send me a message, I can send you the information of how you can order one of these. But I have super extended crossbars that allow me to fit 2 more kayaks on each side. And that's great for me, but you can get this to put surfboards or skis or whatever you need on the top of your Revel. It gives you that little bit of extra reach and raises things up off the stock location, and it allows me to also clear the air conditioner here with my boats. If I didn't have these, the boat would be sitting on that air conditioner unit, and that would be no bueno. So this works pretty good. And then I use these foam pads. I've got 2 different ones up here right now, but I use foam pads just to pad out the bars so it's a little friendlier on the boats where they make contact with the bars. All right, so there it is. That's kind of a quick and dirty rundown of the roof, but I think that's all the key features. Works great for us. So we traveled for years with, I have quite a few ball caps, we had some sun hats, and they always lived on the dash. And this drove Kathy crazy. She hated having that on there. And when we put up our blinds each night, she had to move the hats, and it was a pain. But I didn't really know what else to do with them. So a couple years went by of this and us talking about it often. And we came up with, what if we could put our hats up here? And we came up with this bungee system that mounts to some L-track little puck style mounts, and it allows us to mount our hats flush up to the top of the shelf. They're out of our way, they don't hit our head, and they actually travel here really nicely. And a nice thing is I can take them and put my ball caps inside of the sun hats, and it kind of contains them that way. Now this sun hat here is pretty much destroyed. As you can see, it's seen better days. When I go to Baja this winter, I'm gonna get a new sun hat and it's gonna replace this one, but it still works for holding the ball caps in there. So this has been a very makeshift MacGyvered kind of situation, but it works great. And we really love it. We've got easy access to whatever hats we want at the time. Now, as we move back 1 notch here, there's one other feature that we use all the time as well. Now, right up here, we have a bit of really dark, opaque fabric. Now, this is a nylon material. It's actually even stretchy, but you can't really see through it. Not at all. And we use this as a curtain that comes around and gives us quick little bit of privacy from anybody seeing in from the front. Sometimes we might pull this at, we're going in a store and we don't want anybody to see in the back of the van, or we want to keep the back of the van cooler. Sometimes we need to use the bathroom and we don't want to put up all the blinds and do all that to use the bathroom, so we just pull this curtain. It has really a million uses, but it has been so useful. And it just pulls away, and I literally roll it up a couple of times, I twist it, and then it folds up into a little ball, and it rides right up here on the side of these cubbies. And all it is for the curtain rod is a piece of bungee cord. And even right now, I need to tighten this up a little bit, but you can just slide it around and adjust the tension, and you can get it wherever you want it. And it's just a super clean, easy curtain. I didn't have to drill or modify anything at all. And Kathy sewed this up herself. So this has worked really good, and it's something that we use all the time. All right, one thing I added was a little light strip over here. This is nice when I'm working at night. It does, you know, different colors and everything. I mostly just use it on boring white, but it's really nice just to have a little bit of light here in my office space when I'm working. And this is just plugs in, it runs off of USB. It has a simple little remote control that I've just stuck to the wall with some 3M command strips, and it's worked great. But here we go. This is the brains of the Revel. This is where all the things happen. So basically over here we've got our battery, our tank levels, our water pump controller to put our water pump off and on. This right here is our Timberline diesel heater. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the modern adventure vans, almost all of the Mercedes ones have a diesel heater in them. It pulls diesel out of the fuel tank to run the heater. Now, it has a safety. It's not going to run the heater so much that you end up being stranded somewhere. It won't go under a quarter of a tank. But this puts off a lot of heat in a short amount of time, and it's all controlled right from here. Now, we have the Timberline heater made by a company called Elwell, and we took this thing over 16,000 feet, which is way higher than they recommend you use it, and we had it work flawlessly up there. So it's a pretty robust unit. We've been very happy with it. We've had some other units in the past, and the Timberline heater works better than any of the ones we've experienced so far, and we're really happy with it. But then coming over here, you've just got light switches. This switch raises our bed up and down. I don't know if you can see that, but you can raise the bed if you need to get to those duffel bags that are sitting on top of the drawer system. We can raise the bed up quite a bit and be able to then get into the duffel bags from the inside. We don't have to do that from the outside. So that's kind of nice. This is our inverter off and on. This is part of our Roam Rig power system. And honestly, this whole panel changes from the stock Revel panel. This is a Roam Rig panel, and they take a lot of the Winnebago switches and they put it in their own panel, but it comes with this Victron controller, and this is part of the Roam Rig system. Now, if you don't know Roam Rig is an amazing company made by this amazing guy who is literally a mad scientist. I always joke with him about that, but he is a super smart guy, and he knows these power systems in vans better than anyone I've ever met. And he has found a way to take a stock Revel van and add 3 more batteries to it. So our van came with 230 amp hour batteries, and he added 3 more. So now we have 5, and that gives us 650 amp hours of lithium power. And it is controlled through this. It is charged through the Roam Rig secondary alternator, which they take off the Winnebago alternator that comes on it, and they add a 250 amp secondary alternator. Now, this secondary alternator, all it does is charge these 5 batteries that are in the back of the van, and they're tucked away. They're hard to show you, and they don't really look like anything more than batteries. But let me tell you, something that doesn't look like much changes our life immensely. And having the 650 amp hours allows me to work on my computer, us to cook, us to run the lights, run the air conditioning for up to 8 to 10 hours, depending on how hot it is. It gives us a lot of creature comforts that we didn't have originally in a really nice, well thought out system. So kudos to Roam Rig. I'll put a link to them in the description down below as well. Okay, now I like music. I like music a lot, and being able to Bluetooth link my phone, which is nowadays where all my music lives, to a speaker in here when I'm parked, that I don't have to use the speaker on the dash or built into the Mercedes. I came up with a little Sony Bluetooth speaker, and Winnebago puts these little tracks, these little RAM tracks all throughout the Revel. They're really handy, but I made a little bracket here that I fabricated that then bolts into the track, and then with it I use these little Rapid elastic and Velcro attachers, little straps, and it goes right around my speaker. It holds it here nice and tight. It doesn't flap around when I drive, and I can just with a button push that on and pair my phone and have music. And I like it where it is right here, because depending on where I turn the speaker, I can have the sound coming to the inside of the van, or if I'm cooking outside on the table, I can spin it a little and I have the sound going to the outside of the van. This is just a really simple way to have some tunes in your van with you and have it wherever. And I can even easily just pull this out of those straps and take it with me, and I could take it off to a picnic table or wherever I want to go. So this has worked really well. And it gets power off of a USB plug that is right here behind the spice rack. So I don't have to worry about charging it. It just always stays plugged in and it's ready to rock, literally. Okay, let's see. I want to show you a few more things in the bedroom. Okay, we're here in the bedroom. This is pretty standard. You know, we've got the standard Revel bed, although we did add a Canyon Adventure Van's mattress to this, and their mattresses are top-notch. They make a bed sheet set that is made for this weird Revel van shape, and it fits all 3 mattresses perfectly, and that has been really good as well. So thumbs up to Canyon Adventure Vans. And then a company called Adventure Wagon. They make their own system where they can basically outfit a Sprinter van with their own shelves and drawers and galleys and the whole thing. But Winnebago did a partnership with them on a van that was called the Adventure Wagon, and this is part of that. And these are called mule bags. Lo and behold, the Adventure Wagon mule bag, the biggest one, fits in the back of the Revel perfectly. So this gives us a ton of more storage. In fact, this is all of Kathy's clothes in these soft-sided bags. It took a little bit of doing to bolt them to the ceiling and to the back wall. You just had to know where to drill those holes to get it into the studs. But it has worked great. We've had this in here for a couple of years now, and it has been flawless. And it really does give us just that little bit of space that we were really missing with the stock Revel. Another nice thing is they've got these pockets under here. So these are little mesh pockets, and we've got power outlets and we've run USB cords through, but you know, we can charge our iPads and our headphones, and you can put little miscellaneous things up in here, and it gives you just more storage, which is really nice. Okay, so moving on further back, we have our climbing helmets. Don't you guys all travel with rock climbing helmets? Well, we sure do, because we like to go rock climbing. And then behind them is a little rack that I made where I've attached some rock climbing bolt hangers. It's hard to see, but they mount up here onto the hardware that holds the bed system from Winnebago. And it gives me the ability to have a couple more mounting points there. And from there, I've run some more bungee cord that then makes a great guitar holder. So the guitar's held here when we're driving on rough roads. It's got a little give off the bungee, so it's not pounding on the guitar. And this has worked great. Guitars now have ridden here for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and they're awesome. We also have a little USB fan that we got in Mexico when it was so hot. And this is something that is really nice just to keep the air flowing back here on those warmer nights. So this silver thing here comes down. It's got Velcro. And when we run our air conditioner in hot places at night, and we found that we could get a lot more runtime out of our batteries and therefore our air conditioner by limiting the amount of space that we had to cool. And so by using, this is just Thermex. This is a insulating material that you can get at Home Depot or a home building store. And I've got Velcro strips put in here on the door jamb. And this is cut to perfectly fit and block off the bedroom. So it rolls down. And this Velcro's in. And I usually tuck the bottom in under the bed. And this allows us to block off the bedroom from the front, and we can get 8 to 10 hours out of our batteries running at a moderate temperature, and keeps us nice and cool. And really, this got us through Central America. It was so hot, and without this, I don't think we would have, it would have been rough. So this is a cool little thing, and I just roll this up. It rolls up nice and tight, and I just put it, like you saw there, on that strap. It's even got Velcro here that Velcros it onto itself so it stays rolled up. And then I have a strap right here, and it just rides right here for us to deploy whenever we need it. Okay, now this is gonna be a little harder to see, but this is another really important modification we've made. I've talked about this in other videos. I'm gonna use my flashlight here, my little Surefire flashlight. This is a yoga pad, and then under here is a foam roller. Now, how do I show you guys this? This is the roll of screen that you saw from the outside, and it has straps that suspend it. Well, we've extended the straps and done a little bit of different strapping configuration, and it kind of goes down and makes like a little sling or a little bucket of sorts. A hammock, yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. And in that hammock, we put this foam roller. The foam roller perfectly fits the space between the bed and the door. So it fills that in, and then we throw this other yoga mat on top of it, which is nice and soft and squishy. And this allows Kathy, she sleeps on this side of the bed, and it allows her to kick her knees over here and have something for it to sit on rather than hanging off in space. And it's just extended basically the width of the bed by another, I don't know, 6-8 inches. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you're in a bed this small, it makes a difference. And this has been a really simple and easy modification to the bed system that has made a big difference. And it also gives us a place to store the yoga mat and the foam pad. So that's great. So on this side, we sleep with our heads on the passenger side. We found that to be best. We've done both ways, but this works really good for us. I added some bungee pockets here to this wall that in a normal Revel is just blank. So these bungee pockets give us a lot of extra storage. They've been wonderful just for the little things that you want, your cell phone and whatnot. But it even allows Kathy to keep her manta mask. Let me switch cameras here and I'm gonna let you tell them about this.
So this is my very favorite brand new van accessory that I just got. Basically, this is a high-tech sleep mask. You can see here that it has little cups so that it doesn't press on your eyeballs while you're sleeping at night. And you just slide it on like this, and it blacks out the entire world around you, which makes it really easy to sleep when we're in a noisy parking lot or at a festival or an event or something like that. But my favorite part about this particular mask is that it has little earbuds that are built in. And so I can also drown out the noise that's going on outside with white noise or a book on tape or my favorite movie or something like that. This has made getting a great night's sleep in the van a piece of cake. Oh, and if you're interested in one of these, they're made by Manta Sleep. We'll put a link in the description below. So now I want to show you a couple of cooking appliances that we've added to the van that have really made cooking in the van really easy. Come follow me. The Instapot fits perfectly in this drawer as long as you take the lid off. There it is. So my two favorite appliances are the 3-quart Instapot, and then I have an air fryer as well. And this has allowed me to make things similar to what I would do in a crock pot or what I would have in an oven. Let's go outside and I'll show you a better view of it. All right, these two appliances here have revolutionized the way that I cook in the van. Now we do still have an induction stove and a few pots and pans that I used to cook with occasionally, but really 90% of the time I either use the Instapot or the air fryer, or both at the same time. So some of my favorite recipes are a roasted chicken with potatoes and carrots and other vegetables that I cook. It takes about 30 minutes in the Instapot. Or some of the other things that I like to make in the air fryer are cookies, pizza, nachos, egg souffles, anything that you would normally use an oven for, and it all happens in a fraction of the time as a normal oven. And one of the best features of the air fryer are these little liners that make cleanup a breeze. You just cook your meal and then throw away the liner and you're ready for the next meal. So with these two appliances, I can cook just about anything that I want thanks to the Roam Rig electrical system that powers these with like a breeze.
Well, that's most of the things. I think there's probably a few things we've missed in there. We tried to put it all together, but honestly, when you live in a van like this, day in and day out, all this stuff starts to seem kind of commonplace, and sometimes it's hard to remember it all. And it's all great stuff. We're really happy with how our van is right now. We feel like we've got a really good system that's functional, it's efficient, and it suits our needs well. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of our Winnebago Revel van, how we've used it, how we've improved it. And honestly, it feels like home and it works great for us. And we're so happy to have this set up and be able to travel this way. But I think that's it for this episode, so we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until then, we'll see you somewhere over the horizon. Take care, guys. We're out of here.